and Fox10TV.com. We begin tonight with an update on the Gravine Island case.
The three teenagers accused of burglarizing a fish camp the night Summer Moody was shot in the head were in court today.
That's right. Fox News reporter John Rogers has been in the courtroom all day. He joins us live now with the details. John?
Well, Lenise and Bob, they ended the hearing with a bombshell announcement. Scott Bird and Dylan Tyree were slapped with 20 additional charges for a series of assaults and burglaries. The district attorney says these two teens were involved in a burglary ring throughout Baldwin County, and they left the courtroom in handcuffs. Daniel Parnell was not given these additional charges because he's not in connection to this burglary ring. But let's give you a recap. This was a preliminary hearing in connection to the charge of first-degree burglary. These three teens were issued as a result of the events of April 15th. We heard testimony from three investigators from the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. These investigators interviewed the teens and the adults in that night. And Parnell told one of the investigators that the teens were going out to go alligator hunting and to go catch frogs. And they had a rifle on board that the teen said was issued to Scott Bird, and that rifle was used to shoot an alligator. So over the course of the trip, the teens decided to commit burglaries on Gravine Island. Parnell said Summer Moody was, quote, an active participant in these burglaries, but Parnell did not describe in detail how exactly Summer Moody was involved in these burglaries. Over the course of the burglary of one of these fish camps, there were three adults at a nearby fish camp spending the weekend, and they heard the burglary nearby. So the investigator said the three adults hopped on a boat and went over to take a look. Larry Duncan, one of the three men, saw a teen with an orange shirt and thought this teenager had a gun. In a quick reaction, Nick Hearn, another of the men, shot a bullet into the ground. And in reaction, Larry Duncan fired a shot into the woods. The investigator said Scott Bird and Dylan Tyree shortly came out, and the men realized that these were teenagers they were dealing with, so they told the teenagers to go away, get out of here, and the three men from then on proceeded to go in a boat and go down the river to kind of wait for the teens to pass by. After a certain amount of time, the investigator said the teens did not go by them, so the men went over to take a look. When they got to a dock, that's when they realized that there were other members of the group involved. This was the other teen, Parnell, and Summer Moody, lying on the dock, injured from a gunshot wound. The investigator said later learned from a medical examiner that Summer Moody was shot in the side of the head at a downward angle, not necessarily in the back of the head as we had been reporting, and there were multiple bullet fragments inside her skull. The men took Summer Moody in their boat to Cloverleaf Landing, where they called 911, and the teens went to another area where they were later met by deputies. Now, the investigator said later over the course of surveying the scene, they found behind a palmetto bush a pool of blood and bullet holes in the leaves. They say no matter if it's day or night, visibility is very poor. You cannot see someone behind the brush. They said the shooter, the alleged shooter, Larry Duncan, did not know that Summer Moody was sitting there behind that bush. Now, these three men were not inside the hearing today. Baldwin County District Attorney Hallie Dixon says that there was an issue with issuing the subpoenas. They had a problem. They weren't given enough notice, and these three men apparently live in Mobile County, rather, so they couldn't come over here in time to go to this hearing. So those three men were not here. The three teenagers were, though, and Daniel Parnell was in a jumpsuit because he hadn't posted bond yet. But as I mentioned earlier, at the very end of the hearing was that bombshell announcement that DA Dixon announced that there are 20 additional charges slapped for Bird and Tyree because of their involvement in a Baldwin County burglary ring. Let's take a listen to something she had to say.
They participated in armed burglaries and violent assaults in the past, and it's just a horrible, tragic conclusion. I'd also like to add, though, that I can guarantee you that any of the adults would tell you that no amount of property was worth Summer Moody's life.
The judge will consider a bond reduction for Daniel Parnell since he was not involved in this burglary ring. And this case has now been bound over to a grand jury. The judge found sufficient evidence to continue on this hearing with a charge of first-degree burglary. Obviously, a lot of information gathered in this case. We're still sorting through it, and we'll certainly bring it to you on air and online. Reporting in Bay Minette, John Rogers, Fox 10 News.
Murder suspect Jennifer Morgan Fram was in a Mobile courtroom this morning. She had a bond hearing on the charge stemming